Live here? Are we live? Let me check that out. How's it going, everyone? Nicholas Villars here, aka Super Divorce. We're here on the Super Divorce YouTube station. Here with some Skeleton Crew live. I'm starting it off by my lonesome. In case you didn't know some. I'm just going to go ahead and toast this out on Twitter. So long as I'm actually streaming, I got to check that out on my YouTube page. So I'm just going over there to see if that's actually going down right now. Looks like it is. So let me just grab that link. All right, let's see. All right. Okay, looks like we're good. All right. Okay, so this is Skeleton Crew Live. Very, very much the Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew down to just one right now, which is about as bare bones, no pun intended, as you can get. You know, they call the Skeleton Crew kind of like the bare minimum that you need to keep a sort of operation running. What's up, Obi-Wan? Where is everyone? He wants to know. This is an impromptu Skeleton Crew. So like I said, it's very, very much bare bones, down to the super bare bones. One-man Skeleton Crew right now, though I put the link out on Twitter, and if anyone ends up joining in here who would like to come into the chat, because I'm going through StreamYard, we can always add people in as we're going along here. So that's why I did it that way. I was actually thinking about what I might want to do for a Friday stream and try and get maybe some of the people back from last week and possibly have some more people come on to talk about some new topics and so forth. And, you know, when I was talking to Carl, Mr. Rowe, Carl O. Rowe, the Rotorious, last week, you know, I mean, I have to admit that the idea of this was somewhat reactionary. The idea of a Skeleton Crew live stream where, you know, you're really zeroing in on comicsgate, comic books, and the creators involved, and what inspires them, and so on. And during that stream, I was going to give a little bit of a dissertation on what prompted me to go forward with this idea. And, you know, he kind of was like, well, just jump into it and just do it. And I was like, you know what, that's probably a good idea. And I think that that was really the best thing to do for that stream, is to not really go into a bunch of exposition about what led to this, what the idea behind it is just like, let's just go in and start talking about books, and let's talk about the creators. And so that was good for that stream. And I was thinking about what I might want to do for the one coming up this week, you know, assuming it would just be like a once a week, every Friday type deal. I never said that, but that's just kind of what I imagine was going to happen. But as a few days have gone by here, it seems like the idea that I had initially is becoming more and more challenging. And I don't want to get into the weeds here. That's not what this is about. I don't want to go into all the all of the bullshit and horse shit that's happening and so on. But I have to address certain things because you can't just ignore shit and expect it to go away. Especially when you're dealing with a somewhat close-knit network of people who previously you assumed would all be working together to achieve a sort of common goal. And I've noticed some problems with that. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So it's like if anyone else gets in here, I don't know if they're going to, maybe not. But if they don't, then I'm just going to talk it out by myself because I was going to sit down and just do some writing on the issue. And I was like, well, why don't I just go onto a stream? And that way, if anyone else wants to chime in, then I can always get some feedback, which is good because this is not, it's not just my movement, obviously. You know, I'm a very small player at this point. I don't plan to be forever. And that's one of the things that concerns me is, you know, I see a lot of people getting caught up in the crossfire of fights that they have very little to gain from. People being thrown into situations where they have to take sides where they really didn't want to. And I think that is a result, like I said, of how close-knit a lot of the creators involved in comicsgate are. And then each creator has their own particular following, you know. And if that creator has a falling out with the group at large, then that takes, you know, a chunk of potential fans away from the bigger thing, which is comicsgate. You know, and that's why I've I mean, there have been many times over the course of the past, I would say, year and a half or so, where I've gone to write up tweets, or I've thought about making a video on this or that thing, and I've done a few. Like Obi-Wan just brought up Preston Poulter's comicsgate thing. You know, that's something I weighed in on because he is very obviously and decidedly anti-CG. You know, there's no obscuring that. It's like, that's not, I don't view that as like infighting, as some people have claimed has happened in the past. Some of the shit that's going on right now, though, I actually do look at as real infighting. And like I said, this is not about getting into the weeds. This is not about me trying to hash out or convince anyone out there like whose side they should be on. I want to take a look at what the way forward might be and what I want to do as a creator who wants to claim proudly the comicsgate title, because comicsgate inspired me to pick back up a dream that I had, you know, that kind of I let go dormant for like fucking 15 years. And so I don't, just because shit's weird right now, I'm not willing to say, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out and fuck it. It's like the movement, I think, is more meaningful than that. And I bet a lot of people feel that way. And that's what pissed me off about the Preston Poulter thing. It was like, you got a guy who wanted basically to be platformed by Ethan Van Sciver, and he didn't get that. So he turned against him and then tries to abscond with the name, even though he's been talking against it and doing nothing but degrading the name for the past year or so, however long it's been. Then one day he's like, surprise, Comicsgate has a new owner. Oh, fuck you, dude. You're a fucking idiot. I don't think anyone's worried about him. I feel like he really, with all that shit that happened with him and his porno films being released and shit, I don't think anyone's too worried about Preston. Yeah, they did find videos of him. Apparently they were on Pornhub. I don't know what the deal is. From what I understand, and because I didn't look into it too deeply, luckily I saw a few very suggestive images, but I didn't see the videos. They're available. If you feel like searching them out, you can find them. Never Cold, by the way, thank you for being here. Good to see you. But he had videos, from what I understand, maybe him and his wife had like a pay site, and he was into like getting dominated and literally cuckoldry, like watching his wife fuck other dudes and stuff. And they've got this on video and videos of his wife, pegging him, and then him going down on her while she was wearing a strap on and such. I mean, it's tough to come back from that after you've spent the past year accusing other people of being degenerates, and then to have that kind of stuff come out about you. You don't have much ground to stand on at that point. So, yeah. But he tried to accuse people of violating revenge porn laws and shit. And it's just like, dude, these videos were like online. It's not something that someone hacked into his computer to get. It was, I guess, something in his past that he assumed was not going to come up. When you make enemies like he has over the past year, I mean, I would have been shaking my fucking boots every day, assuming someone was just, minutes away from discovering that shit. And eventually it happened. So be careful when you get antagonistic with people. Pick your battles, If he wouldn't have been such a dickhead, then that stuff all might have just kind of flew under the radar. Might have never been dug up, but, that's what happens. Yeah. That is the kind of thing that would possibly drive someone to the brink, So I guess good on him for being able to weather the storm. I never want to see anyone off themselves over something like that, but that's the type of shit. But it's like you reap what you sow in a way. As far as the controversy goes, it's like if you spend a year antagonizing an entire movement of people and accusing them of degeneracy and being fucking, I don't know, the people who make dirty jokes and that offends you on some basic level. Meanwhile, you've got videos floating around the internet of you sucking your wife's rubber penis. It's tough to come back from, like I said. But anyway, so Preston's not the big problem. It's actual, I think, it's actual problems within comicsgate. And like I said, how do you move forward as a network? Because I think that it was John Malin who I heard refer to it that way several months ago. And I thought that was a really good way of putting it. Is I don't think comicsgate is so much a movement. It's not really a community. It's a network. It's a bunch of people networking, literally. That's what all the live streams are. You go on the different live streams. You get in front of all these different audiences. And everyone, I would say, in the best of times, all of those nodes within the network, they didn't necessarily share the same audience. Not every fan of one live stream was following all the other live streams. But when one creator took himself over to another creator's live stream, his fans would go with him. They'd watch that one. And then whoever was hosting would probably make some new fans. And then whoever went on the show would also make new fans from the host, And I think that's like the idyllic vision of how it was supposed to go. It becomes a real problem when people start having personal issues with one another. And so when I had this idea of like a skeleton crew live stream, it's like, or what I put in the description here, it's like Black Coffee Comicsgate, is like, just cut the horse shit out and let's just fucking talk about the books Let's talk about what inspires you as a creator, and so on. And so that's the structure that I wanted this to have. And then I think it still can, but I feel like this needs addressed now rather than trying to gloss over it and act like nothing's happening. The problem with my idea that I'm going to admit right now is that I've seen some things go on over the course of the past several days that have made me reevaluate the premise of this, you know. And I was like, okay, well, we can have a live stream that's kind of like a neutral, a demilitarized zone, you know, where even creators who kind of don't like each other can still come on, and we're just not going to bring up any of whatever their personal horseshit is being dealt with behind the scenes. This will be like just more of a business, down to business panel where, again, you're going to be talking about the books. You're going to be talking about the inspiration behind the books. You're going to be talking about creators' work ethics. One thing that I kept going back to when I was asking people on the stream on Friday last week was like, what keeps you planted at your desk? I think that's a big one. And that's something that a lot of up and coming artists, writers, that's something that people struggle with. I still struggle with it. But the more you hear other people talk about it, the more opportunity it gives you to sort of take that information to heart, and you can use that, and you can store that away, and you can remember it when you start to feel antsy and it's like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this right now. But if the more references you have to draw from, I think the easier it is to keep yourself there. It's like, no, this is important. I need to do this, and it's not a matter of can I, it's will I. Am I going to make the decision to sit here and continue working, or am I going to get up and fuck off? And so it was that kind of thing, you know, like Jocko Willink's comicsgate. That's the idea here. However, the past few days, I just see this shit just getting more and more out of hand, and the divide growing deeper and deeper. And I've seen some things from some people, and I'm not going to go into who, because again, I don't want to do that. That's not what this is about. This is about finding a way forward and about solving problems as opposed to getting mired in the minutia and just turning it into a daytime soap opera. So I'm trying to address the issues without trying to exploit them. Certain things that I've seen written and certain exchanges that have happened have given me the impression that, like, if I were in the position of some people who have been on the receiving end of certain comments or certain conversations, that I might not be willing to go on a live stream and set personal shit aside, because some of the shit that's being said is so egregious and so insulting, where it's just like the only appropriate response in ways is just kind of like, fuck you, dude. I'm not going to sit on a panel with you. If you have that guy on, I'm not doing it. And you could see that as immature in one sense, but also you can see it as an act of being principled in another. You know, because everyone has to have that line in the sand where it's just like, okay, you've gone too far. I could have forgiven you talking shit about this and this and this and this, but then when you said that is like the fuck you line. And once you cross that, no, I'm not going to put personal issues aside. I'm just not willing to do that, you know. And the more and more you interact with people on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, the more you put yourself out there, I feel like the higher the risk of one of these events occurring where you get dragged into a fight somehow, even if you didn't even mean to. And it's like the more of this that goes on, the harder and harder it is to try to have this unified network. Again, not saying movement. I'm not saying everyone has to get along all the time. I'm not saying everyone has to love each other. But if you can't at least have a working relationship, if your fans end up getting divided over and over and over, like, okay, you can deal with that if it happens once, twice, but it seems like more and more, all right, well, now this artist is in a situation where sides are being chosen, and now this artist is, and now this writer is. And the more that happens, the smaller that initial network gets, and the tougher it's going to be to move up in that network if it's fucking a shit show. You know, if it's, instead of a giant web with a bunch of different nodes, the webs have been disconnected. So at one point, maybe you had this huge web where you can, you've got this point here, and you can go to any point around you and all the way to the edge. Well, now that big web seems to be breaking apart. And so then you have to choose where you are. Or if you don't choose, people are going to make choices for you. It's like what goes on in the political world right now, in the social world. It's like, well, if you're not with us, then you're against us. If you don't come out and say this, then or if you support the wrong thing, then you're going to get fucked. And that's a problem, like I said, for comicsgate, for a network to be continuously broken up. That is a problem. That's not drama. That is looking at the lay of the land, seeing what's there, and being like, this has to get fixed somehow. There's got to be a way forward. We have to figure out what's expected of creators and what's expected of fans. And how much shit is a creator expected to take before they can block someone? That kind of stuff. Is it ever okay, in your opinion? These are the conversations that need to be had, and I don't see them happening. I see a bunch of, like I said, fucking ballerina shoes, tippy tap, daytime soap shit going on, and not a lot of people that seem to be working towards a solution. And so that's why I'm doing this on this stream, is even though I don't necessarily have anyone with me who's maybe in the creative position that I am. And I'm like I said, I'm a small fish in this, or a small spider, to be using my spider web example. Very small. But still, it's something that I think about. The comicsgate title is something that I've been excited about. Like I said, it inspired me to pick back up on something that I let go. And that was the idea of doing my own book, and I've been working on it. I've been looking at all sorts of inspirations and trying to make up for lost time and really take it seriously. I don't want to do okay. I want a fucking top 10 book. Well, it's going to be fucking tough if the entire thing is divided 50 fucking ways. So, let me look at the chat real quick. Nevercold says, there's a great community there, but network is probably the best way to see it. Yeah, I thought so, because a network is a little less emotional. It allows for a little more dissent. It doesn't have to be this ideologically driven thing. If you view it that way, you can see that anyone using the network kind of has the same goal. They have a sort of core foundation of principles that they share, but not everyone has to like each other. Not everyone necessarily has to feature all other people or be willing to feature all other people within the network, but they have to be willing to cross paths, and they have to be willing to, I think, share that network with each other. You can't be put off by the idea of sharing a network with someone and then expect to champion it full bore. You know, if the idea of if you hate someone so much, or if someone's done something to you so egregious that you don't want to be seen within that network, then one of you has to go. That's just the way it works. Social media, not even once. Yeah, it sucks that this platform, or it's a tool. Social media is a tool, and it's something that creative people of all types, artists, you know, musicians, writers, people fucking making arts and crafts, like on Etsy, like 20 years ago, I mean, the idea of what we're able to do with social media, I mean, it would have seemed like magic to be able to reach so many people and make your own way without having to get a deal, you know, as far as, let's bring the arts and crafts example up. Like 20, 25 years ago, you needed, if you wanted to sell your shit, basically what, you got to open up a little, rent a space and display your wares. You could do a mail order catalog, something like that. But there was nothing like what we have now. I mean, you could put your stuff on eBay, but that's not, that eBay's been around for 20 years. But, you know, the social aspect of something like Etsy, or sharing your art on like DeviantArt, or doing stuff on YouTube, you know, getting so many people to follow you and then just see automatically when you have something new for them, in theory. I know YouTube doesn't really do a good job with that these days. But it's still a lot better than if I were, say, I couldn't have done this 20 years ago. To talk to people like this, I would have had to have a radio show, you know? I would have had to find some fucking local radio station, and I couldn't talk the way I do right now, obviously. So it is a tool. The internet, social media, all this stuff is a tool, and it's given us opportunities to do things that years ago we never could have dreamed of. We wouldn't have been able to do without the support of like very, very wealthy people who took a chance on you. You don't have to worry about that now. You just bust your ass and you can make just about anything happen. But with all that comes this sort of cliquey and, well, the social aspect of social media, which can be quite a negative, as we've seen here. So Obi-Wan says, speaking of division, are there any protests, or sorry, are the protests bad in Ohio? Certain areas have been hit worse than others. As you would imagine, the big cities. I know Cleveland was having some issues. Toledo. There was a little bit in Cincinnati, not too much. But when you look around at that shit, I mean, it's still going on every day. And I've seen that all these fucking things are breaking out across the world now. You know, which is really fucking weird, you know. There's a lot of really strange shit that accompanies all these things, you know. I just off the top of my head, like all these pallets of bricks being dropped off in cities that people have been finding, you know, where these protests are planned. That's fucking strange, you know. Just trying to get people to fuck shit up. People making excuses for that, as if somehow burning entire cities to the ground is going to be conducive to anyone's peace or prosperity. You know, I've seen this hashtag no justice, no peace. And they're basically saying that until, you know, all 4 officers involved in this event are charged, then there's not going to be any peace. As if that's the only instance where justice can be served here. Well, fuck everyone else's justice who's had their lives ruined, right? You know, everyone out there who's had a fucking business torn to the ground, burned down, looted, lost a life. I mean, there's justice to be served there. Are they included in the no justice, no peace hashtag? You know, are you going to keep looting until justice is served for them? I mean, I'm skeptical of the idea that this even stops when justice has been served. If all 4 of those cops got the death sentence tomorrow, I don't think it would stop. Because I don't think the people who are engaging in the looting and the rioting, and to be sure, there are people out there who are peacefully protesting. I'm not saying that those people don't exist. They're out there, and I feel bad for them. Even if I disagree with some of their politics, the underlying foundational reason behind it, I do agree with. And I think most people do. It's like what happened to George Floyd is inexcusable and it's disgusting. It should never happen, ever. You know? But I think a lot of people out there protesting, they're bringing extra baggage to the protests. They're bringing extra politics to it that have nothing to do with the situation. And certainly the people who are engaging in violence and looting and burning and all this kind of shit, who are just causing chaos, some people want to make it happen. Some people want it to escalate. You know, they've got like the Joker mentality, and they're out there doing that. And then other people just probably don't give a shit either way. They just see it as an opportunity to maybe blow off some steam. You know, just fuck shit up for fun, get some free stuff. That's happening. It's not as if everyone who's out there on the streets is operating under the same exact mindset. It is, like all other things, nuanced. There are differences of opinion. There are different motivations behind all of it. I think that there's some behind the scenes shit going on. There's money involved, you know. But I don't know, you know, I don't think it's going to stop until there are consequences that people understand. And so far, there really haven't been any. It seems as though police have been given orders to stand down. It just looks like people, it's a shit show. People are out there doing whatever they want to, and I don't think they have any reason at this point to stop. I don't think justice is going to do it. But hey, Shellback is here, and he says he doesn't really have a dog in this fight, but for another example, he was in the military and had to work with people that he didn't always see eye to eye with. Put your shit aside and focus on the job. I think maybe in response to some of the comicsgate stuff happening, which I agree with for the most part. I do agree with that for the most part. But there are, like I said, the reason I think the discussion needs to happen is because there's some shit that's been said. There's some lines being drawn that if I put myself in those people's shoes, I don't know if I would be able to detach enough, or if I'd be willing to. Maybe not that I wouldn't be able to, but I might not, as a matter of principle, I wouldn't want to be associated with certain people. I don't know. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I'm questioning these things. I'm open to talking about that. That's why I'm bringing them up here where other people can weigh in. And Shellback, they're not protests, they're riots. But again, I think that there is protesting going on and there is rioting going on. And there's a difference. There's a very important difference between the two of those. Very, very important. I mean, that important difference is that a protest is not supposed to be a violent display. You're not supposed to have innocent people or innocent businesses being attacked in the process of a protest. Protests are completely legal. The right to get together, to assemble, I mean, that's crucial. That is a fundamental element of our freedom in this country. You have to be able to do that, which makes it even more disgusting when people come in and hijack that and then put the spotlight on themselves. They use your time to go out and speak your piece as an opportunity to hijack whatever your movement happens to be, and then use it for their own ends. Nevercold says, I think the whole thing is fake to a certain level. Anything they pump on the news should always be viewed with scrutiny. Well, I mean, the destruction is very real. I mean, there are people out there losing everything. I don't know what you mean. It maybe like some of the rioting and stuff. Like I said, a lot of that seems to be antagonized by coordinated efforts, we could say. Obi-Wan wants to know my thoughts on using tear gas and rubber bullets on legitimately peaceful protesters, which seemed to be the case at the White House. Yeah, well, the stuff at the White House, they were in the same place the night before, and it's where fires were started. I mean, I was watching that all throughout the night until everything kind of went dark. I mean, literally, they turned all the lights out, and then I think they kind of made everyone scatter. There was the building, what was it, like the guard building at the White House was set on fire, and then the church across the street. And so that got them to enact this very strict curfew that they were setting the day after that. And then apparently people weren't leaving. So that's that point where it's just like, you've got to give people a reason to take you seriously. And if you just say, we've got what all these places were doing was, all right, we've got a curfew of 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And then people were just fucking staying out. And then the shit would inevitably turn bad once the lights went down. You know, once the sun went down, that's when all this shit started. And this was in places, pretty much everyone had a curfew in place, but the curfews weren't being enforced. There was no consequence for breaking the curfew. So if there's no consequence for breaking the curfew, people are just going to stay out there for as long as they damn well please. And so do I want people to get shot with rubber bullets and get tear gassed? No. I mean, that doesn't especially make me happy. But again, if I'm given orders by, fucking standing there with the National Guard in front of me, or, state police, and they say, you've got to leave, and then I don't, I mean, I would expect they're going to do something to make me move. And that's what started happening. I mean, they gave that warning. They said, this is going to be strictly enforced. And people didn't begin to move. So that's what happens. That's on you at that point, in my opinion. Nevercold says the occult use astrology and black magic. They have beliefs in things normal folks just wouldn't comprehend. They put the population into a motion they're directing. They harvest energy from it all. Sounds crazy, but it's how they operate. The news is just a method of delivering their magic. I understand the riots are real, he says. I'm just saying you should view the catalyst of all this with scrutiny. Look into George Floyd and Stephen Jackson. Shit's bizarre, to say the least. Yeah, well, I mean, regardless of what you think the ultimate driving force of all this is, it's unquestionable that there are forces at work here that want people to be divided. Clearly, the news for the past 4 years, at least in the United States, has been probably the most absurd thing. The way that mainstream journalists act, the way that they report over the course of the past 4 years has been the most absurd thing that I have ever seen when it comes to the media in my entire life. And you know, the media has always been left leaning. So that's not really, it's not that. It's the way that they've acted in particular. And it started with the Russia shit, man. I mean, and now I'm getting all political, which really isn't the idea here, but fuck it. I mean, here's my stance is like, I don't set out to be overly political, but if someone asks my opinion on something, I'm not afraid to speak about it. But that's not, you know, I don't necessarily make my, I don't try to make my followers by talking politics or anything. But, you know, it's what drove me away from the left is just the insanity. It's like people are fucking crazed about Donald Trump in particular. And, you know, I didn't vote for him in 2016. I didn't vote for Hillary either. I mean, I voted third party. But the way that the media reacted to him got me looking into things that totally changed my mind. There's like, these people are just fucking lying all the time. It's a fucking hit job constantly. You know, it's embarrassing. But whatever. You know, I think that they've played themselves because I don't think no one gives a shit what they say anymore. It's almost like the mainstream media at this point is when they say shit, when they report on news, to me it has the same effect as when you have Hidden Valley Ranch come out and support Black Lives Matter. It's like you're a fucking ranch dressing company. Why do I give a fuck where you stand on social issues? You know, it's like you want the silence brand meme to come in and just like the fucking robot with laser eyes just destroying their fucking Twitter account. Silence. No one gives a fuck. The only people who give a shit are the people who are out there virtue signaling, and it's all a big fucking circle jerk echo chamber anyway. You know, they're not convincing anyone on the outside to take them seriously. Most people would look at that, like I said. I mean, this is fucking dead serious. Hidden Valley Ranch, ranch dressing, changed their goddamn profile picture, you know, or posted a little black square yesterday. And it was like, why? Why do you think anyone gives a goddamn what their fucking ranch dressing provider believes about the riots happening right now? No one gives a shit. You know, you're not selling any product that way. Is anyone so impressed by that? You know, well, you know, I traditionally have always purchased Newman's Own ranch dressing, but then I saw yesterday Hidden Valley Ranch. They posted that black square, and by God, I think next time I go to the store, I'll be buying Hidden Valley Ranch dressing. Newman's Own disappointed me. They didn't take a stance. Maybe they did. I don't know. I didn't see anything from Newman's Own. I did see Hidden Valley Ranch. They actually did post about it. Same with a lot of these other brands that people just, no one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. Yeah. Never Cold saying that, you know, the left-right paradigm is just another form of division. Yeah. And we're going to suffer that in comicsgate if we're not careful. It's just endless division. Only I don't know who benefits from that. It's just, it seems like an unfortunate instance of a movement being destroyed from within. I don't know exactly what's driving it. Is it ego? Is it people who can't handle the success of others, success of people that they don't like or that they don't approve of? I mean, if that's what's driving it, that's pathetic. You shouldn't give a shit. You know, put your head down. If someone that you think sucks starts to succeed and it bothers you, the correct response is not to go and try to throw them under the bus and you know, make a case to everyone else why they're shitty and why they shouldn't be supporting them. Like, and I know that can seem hypocritical, but there's a difference between what I'm talking about and, say, criticizing something as a fan. If you're a fan, because a lot of people within the same realm, that's what they do. That's what comicsgate sort of spawned from, was people discontented by the products they were being given. And that's different. It's different to voice your criticism when you feel like you're being disregarded as a customer versus being a creator and throwing other creators under the bus because you don't think they're good enough, or you think fans are wasting their money on that guy. That's not what you should be worried with. Don't concern yourself with what another person's campaign did. Concern yourself with what you want to do, or make it your goal to outsell them. And you can be explicit about that. I don't give a fuck. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can say, look, I tip my cap to so-and-so for raising this much, but I believe I'm going to do better with my campaign. And here's why. And then fucking sell it and let your product speak for itself as well. But, yeah. Never Cold says, I still like CG. It ran me broke, but that's on me. I still support those I like when I can. The drama side of it all sucks. That's why I'm rarely in the CG chats anymore. Yeah, well, that's what a lot of the chats seem to be about these days, unfortunately. And I will admit, some of the stuff with, like, Miller and Edwin, when all that kind of shit was going on for a while, I thought that was kind of funny to follow. But those were people I felt like who had broken away. And especially in the case of Doug, that was a guy, I think, that just kind of swooped in. He tried to make some money off of something that he saw as an opportunity. He took that opportunity and, whatever. But once he made his money, he was off. And he didn't really give a shit after that. So I didn't really see that so much as infighting within comicsgate. That was like a guy who decided to turn his back on the network and go his own way. And it's like, all right, well, the process of him fucking off was kind of funny. That was kind of funny to follow. But this stuff where you've got friends being turned against each other and people having to choose sides, like, that's just not what's going to move things forward. That's not good for anyone, I don't think. I have a tough time seeing how that's a good thing. Yeah, F Doug, F Moose. But yeah, it was fun in the beginning. It never ended. That's another thing, though, is like all this kind of, I call it ballerina slippers and fucking daytime soap operas. It's like that stuff, it can grab people's attention for a little while, but it runs its course very quickly and people get fucking bored with it. And then you're left wondering, like, why are we here? Is this what we're here for? Are we here to learn about new books? Or like I was talking about with this show, not just to learn about new books, but also to get the philosophy behind new books, to talk to creators and figure out what makes them tick so they can share their process with people. Because that's one of the things that inspires me the most, to hear creative people talk about that, or not just creative people, but successful people who are doing work, to hear them talk about their process and what keeps them engaged, what inspires them, what are they reading, what are they listening to, what kind of podcasts are they listening to, what movies are they watching, how do they keep themselves on task, what are their schedules like, all this kind of stuff. That's interesting. And that not only is it interesting, but it's the type of shit that people watching a show or listening to a show can actually can get something of value out of. If you sit down and you listen to 2 fucking hours of people bitching about this or that guy, You might be entertained for a little bit, but at the end of those 2 hours, you haven't really learned anything, except for maybe you don't want to associate with this or that person, which I guess can be helpful in some instances, but you can learn that and you could probably get the fucking Cliff Notes version in 5 minutes. When it comes to a sit down and allowing people to discuss the creative process or the work process, that's why these long form podcasts become so popular, is because it's an alternative to the fucking 5-second sound bites and these really truncated interviews that you might get with someone if they went on like a daytime or late night talk show or something. You can sit down with someone like on Joe Rogan's show, and you get to hear him talk with David Lee Roth for 3 hours about, just life, just the type of person he is. And when you get an idea of the type of person someone is, naturally you get a better insight into how they were able to come up with the things they came up with. And that is, that's actually valuable. That's actually something that people can learn from, that can make a listener or a viewer a better person, a more effective person. They can actually learn strategies. They can learn, new tactics to implement into their own lives, even if they're not creative people. You might hear an artist give a sort of an approach to work that someone who has a fucking factory job might take with them to the factory, that increases their productivity, that then gets them a promotion, that lands them in a new position where they're using more of that knowledge in ways that they didn't even see coming. So that's the type of stuff that excites me about doing a show like Skeleton Crew. That's what it's supposed to be about. But to continue doing it under the name and in the name of comicsgate, and to continue working on my book and saying that it will be a proudly comicsgate comic book, Lethal Ass Kicker, I mean, comicsgate has to exist. It has to be a viable network when I'm done with my book. It does me no good. It does no one else any good, who are like people who are coming up right now who want to be part of this, who've been inspired by it. It does no one any good to talk about, Hail Comicsgate and shit if you feel like the whole fucking thing's breaking apart. There's a new division every fucking week, and all these fucking old cuts and open up, and every time it happens, like the lines become blurrier and blurrier as to who's on whose side. And at a point, people will just get fucking sick of it. And they'll say, all right, well, we're just not going to be a part of it. We're not going to have Comicsgate anymore. And I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do. I want to be the fucking last person running the machine if I have to. But it would be unfortunate to see that happen because I see so much potential in it. And I see it's inspired me so much, and it's inspired other people. I mean, certain artists and writers have put their careers on the line to come to and champion that name, to say they are Comicsgate. So, Never Cold says I got my head on straight. Well, I try to keep my head on straight. But yeah, man, crazy times all around. Lots of division, unfortunately. But besides the comic stuff, here's something else I wanted to mention, is that I've thought about taking this approach to social media where I kind of diminish what I post on Twitter. I think I've been doing a better job of it. Not perfect, I will say, but I'm trying to get as close to down to business on social media as I can. So I'm not trying to spend time arguing with people. I like to go in and use Twitter or Instagram, even though I haven't really posted much on there lately. I like the idea of using these things as a platform to, here you go. Here's something new for you. Not here's my opinion on this or that thing, unless it's like a review, that's actually going to be informative to some degree, like I did with the TurboGrafx system, which was a hell of a video to make, guys. I did post earlier today. I said I will not rest until I have the most viewed TurboGrafx 16 video on YouTube, especially compared to IGN's, where they trashed Jeff and JJ. What the fuck is it called? I don't know. It's a fun game, fun platformer. But see, that's what I'm saying. I want to compete. I want the best goddamn review of the TurboGrafx on there. It's not the most in-depth, but I believe it might be the most entertaining. And that's what I'm going for. I'm going for entertainment value. Who else is reviewing 60 games in under 5 minutes with an unboxing? I also said for my next trick, I'm going to be reviewing all 130 episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the original cartoon. And I will be doing that in under 30 minutes. I'm going to split it into 2 videos. So 1 video per season. Under 15 minutes for season 1, and then another one under 15 minutes for season 2. That allows me, I believe, around 10 seconds per episode. So that's my next big trick. That's what I'll be working on for my next big YouTube video. This is a Miller Lite. Having a Miller Lite here. How about you guys out there in the chat land? Anyone drinking anything? Speaking of drinking, God damn it, Obi-Wan, we need a new season. Even if you don't get back to it full time, can you at least give us like a 10 episode season? Just do them all in one day and space it out and release one a week. Do a fucking 10 episode new season of uneducated, isn't that what you call it? Uneducated Australian beer reviews. We need a new season. Well, there's nothing wrong with coffee, never cold. I can never have enough coffee. Are you a fan of the show Twin Peaks? If you aren't, just the fact that you're a coffee drinker means that you should watch it. Never Cold doesn't drink alcohol anymore. No fun. Well, that's okay. Your sisters lived it. They lived the show Twin Peaks. Big fans, huh? What's kept you from watching it? Were your sisters too into it? Oh, they loved it. I assume that's what you meant. I just thought, they lived it. They were so into it. They lived it. Shellback says, I live not too far from where they shot Twin Peaks. Oh, that's awesome. Well, maybe one day, my wife and I actually plan to go there sometime. We want to go and visit the diner and also stay at the hotel. Have you been to the hotel, Shellback, or to the diner for some damn fine coffee and cherry pie? Never Cold says, I don't watch much of anything anymore. Do you have Netflix? If you have Netflix, I think the original series is on there. And then the new season was also fantastic, the one they did in 2017. That was on Showtime, I think. I just finished that like maybe a couple weeks ago. But that was really good. A lot of times these follow-up shows, like a new season that comes, it was literally, I think, 25 years after the original, like the second season ended. They did season 3 in 2017. And it was just as good as ever. They pretty much got the entire cast back together and just firing on all cylinders. No Netflix for Never Cold. Well, you can always order it on DVD. That's an option. Probably pretty cheap. I bet it is. In fact, I'm going to look it up for you right now. I'm going to see how much would it cost for a pre-owned copy of Twin Peaks on DVD. Let's see. Let's check it out here. Shellback says it's called Dirtfish now. It's like an old lumber mill or factory. I know there was an old lumber mill featured on the original show, but the actual the hotel, I know you can stay there because I have an old acquaintance who went to that hotel and he stayed there, I think, a couple years ago. Said it looks quite different though. We've got a few different options. The television collection on DVD. What is this? Does it include the new season? Yeah, it does. All 29 episodes of the original groundbreaking seasons, all 18 parts of the limited event series return to Twin Peaks. Yeah. Dirtfish is a rally car driving school. Oh. Have you gone rally car driving before? I'm not familiar with it. To be honest, I don't even know what rally driving is. What is rally driving? How does that differ from what do you do there? Differ from drag racing? Is rally driving like around a track? I don't know much about racing at all. I do know that I recently watched Ford versus Ferrari, and that was a fantastic movie. Maybe you want to watch more racing. Dirt roads is what rally racing is. Huh. Okay. Okay, so there's what is that game? Is it Dirt? The Dirt games? That's like rally racing. DVD used from $31.27. You could get the entire collection for about $30. Never Cold. Oh, my wife's here. Hey, Jess. No, you didn't ruin the stream. I was in the middle of a thing, so I didn't stop. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be a dick. Shellback says those guys that drive entirely too fast on dirt roads and streets too, especially in Europe. So is that like No, it's not like that. It's not like Forza. I think that's, what do they call that? Where you're on the street. The stuff they were doing in Ford versus Ferrari. What kind of racing was that? I don't know. You almost tripped on the fan on the attempt to exit quietly. Well, be careful. Never Cold says that he'll see what's up since he's got my stamp of approval. That's just called road racing. It's pretty straightforward. I figured it'd have like a fancy name to it. So Ford versus Ferrari is just road racing. Sorry, not street racing. Street racing, I feel like street racing is probably, that's like Fast and the Furious, at least the first one, because now they're just like over the top action movies. From what I can tell, they kind of look fun. I think they were. It's an interesting. That's an interesting franchise, Fast and the Furious. Started off as just like the street racing movie, and it feels like now it's just like it's like a Michael Bay's dream. Does he work on those movies? Because if he doesn't, I'd be very surprised. I feel like that's his dream scenario. You can just do anything in those movies now, it seems like, from the trailers. But I've not watched them. I probably would, though, because they just look kind of like throwback action films where the story doesn't really matter too much. If you just want to see shit blown up and cars go fast and fucking, sexy women and so on. It seems like the perfect action franchise now, but it blossomed into it. It didn't really start that way. So it's kind of an interesting thing. The Fast and the Furious is. I mean, it's a good way to perhaps honor the memory of Paul Walker. It's like, you know what? We're going to take this up a notch every fucking time in his memory. It's like, we're going to see how fucking far we can push this thing. Shellback says in Europe, some of the rally course runs straight through villages. Well, I only know that from playing Forza. I think Forza's the one. Racing games are fun, especially the new ones. I just don't play them very much. I have a tough time sitting down and like playing games that aren't story driven. For the most part, that's what I like to sit down and play when I have the opportunity to do so. So I don't play many shooters anymore, though I do kind of miss playing Counter-Strike. Definitely miss playing Lawbreakers. Chances are I'll never play that again in my life. They've made it impossible because the company Boss Key went down, and now you just can't play it. You can't even fucking load the game up. Can't even play against bots. What a joke. Nevercold's never seen any Fast and Furious movies in their entirety. That's how little stuff he watches. Is there anything you do watch? If you don't watch TV, what do you spend most of your time reading? Is that the hobby? Reading, writing, arithmetic? No, I never played the Colin McRae rally racing game, Shellback. I did not play that one. Just YouTube. Nevercold gets on YouTube. That's about it. Well, YouTube and work is basically Nevercold's life. Well, that's a lot of people these days, I think. So many people just they don't need cable. They don't need Netflix. Just get on YouTube all the time. I think that's why YouTube's tried to cater to a lot of these bigger celebrities, because there are so many people on the platform. But they don't realize that in catering to the large celebrities, they're neglecting the fucking creators that built the goddamn platform in itself. It's like you didn't get people turning away from cable TV and in these big productions by signing, the hottest Hollywood stars to come over to YouTube. This platform was built by fucking, a bunch of dickheads for all intents and purposes. Just average fucking Joes who decided to start making videos. That's how it fucking happened. And then you want to throw all the fucking creators under the bus because they're not celebrities. They're not fucking Hollywood stars. Shooting themselves in the foots. I think they might see that if Spotify, I've heard Spotify is going to be rolling out a video service, you know, and if they are creator friendly, the way YouTube used to be, and they've got Rogan over there, and they roll out this new video streaming service, you know, that operates somewhat like YouTube does. I mean, that'll give YouTube an incentive to get their shit together pretty damn quick or be put under. That's how this stuff happens, you know, and it's crazy how quickly it can happen too. When you're in the midst of using some of these large platforms, people think, oh, well, this one's never going to get taken down. And then inevitably they get too big, too arrogant, something else comes along, and then people jump ship. And it happens seemingly in the span of like a fucking week. I mean, I remember when Dig went down, they made these fucking stupid changes. And previously, I mean, Dig was the site. Dig was like the aggregator that everyone used. And, you know, Reddit had its following, but in the comments section of Dig articles and shit where people were posting, it was like anytime Reddit came up, everyone was just fucking dogging on them. Just how shitty their user interface was. The platform just was inferior to Dig in all these certain ways. And, well, Dig fucked up and there was a mass exodus. And then it seemed like within the span of a couple weeks, everyone was using Reddit. No one was on Dig anymore. And then, you know, fucking happened to MySpace. So anyone who thinks it can't happen to Twitter, can't happen to YouTube, playing yourself. Probably will happen. Dickheads like us, that's right. That would be the story of, that would be the YouTuber fucking, you know, biopic. Dickheads like us. Never Cold cut the cable 3 years ago. I keep cable basically to watch professional wrestling and basketball during the playoffs. That's like, you know. And then the occasional TV show, like the occasional other TV show. Jess and I just started watching that Dirty John show. First 2 episodes of that were really good. That was a really good show. Looking forward to that one. Felt really bad. It was very emotional. It was a very emotional program. Pretty crazy. True story. Yeah. If you get a chance to check that one out, it stars Christian Slater and Amanda Peet, who you might remember from Saving Silverman, with Jason Biggs and Steve Zahn. Jack Black. It's a great movie. Neil Diamond. It's a fantastic movie. I feel like they don't make comedies like that anymore. You know? What happened? Especially Jack Black. Whatever happened to like just... I mean, I have a hard time believing that he's not funny anymore. If he wanted to. Maybe he just made so much money. It's like the Steve Guttenberg thing. I heard him talk about like, you know, someone asked him a few years ago why he just went away. Steve Guttenberg, famous actor, you know, Police Academy and so forth. And he was like, he basically said, if you'd made as much money as I did during the 80s, you wouldn't be doing shit today either. It's like, well, fair enough. You know, you just don't feel like fucking going and making movies anymore. And he's probably not pulling in, like, I'm sure that his star peaked at that point, and he, I guess, played his cards right and saved enough, maybe made enough money where he could literally sit on his ass the rest of his life. He has everything paid off that he's had to pay. Maybe do this or that appearance every now and again. But he's not quite like Harrison Ford. I feel like probably made enough money to never work again in the 80s also. But he ascended to that next level where it's just like he can ask for an absurd amount of money and people will pay him. Like absurd to where, 99% of other actors would not be able to get that price tag met. But he's Harrison Ford, so he can ask it, and they're probably going to give it to him. And then he'll be like, well, I really don't feel like fucking going and doing this new Star Wars movie, but whatever. He's got like 2 days of work, and he can make however many millions of dollars by showing up. Fuck it. Steve Guttenberg can't do that, so he's just going to stay home. I understand. I get it. Yeah, Never Cold. Christian Slater is still getting work. He is, and he's fantastic in this show, by the way. And I was just thinking that when I was watching it. It was like, during the 80s and early to mid 90s, he was like one of the top guys in Hollywood. And then he just kind of went away. But then he did, what was that show? Mr. Robot. About the hacker. The guy who played, what's his name? Rami Malek, the guy who played Freddie Mercury. He was on that show with him. That got really good reviews. I only watched a couple episodes of it. It seemed like one of those shows that you kind of need to get invested into, though. And then I never went back to it. But on this new one, yeah, he's still doing a great job. So we'll see where he goes. Yeah, and it could be that Gutenberg saw the horrors of Hollywood and noped out. That could also be it. Could be a combined cocktail of reasons why he decided to get out of there. Obi-Wan says he just started watching the Watchmen TV show. Not as bad as I'd heard, he says. Yeah, you know what? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And I don't think anyone can put it any better than the way that Richard Meyer did. Your boy Zach over on Comics Matter. He was reviewing the Watchmen show, and the thing I love about him is he gives an honest review of things. He'll check something out, even if it's written by someone that he hates. Like, he'll still review Mark Waid's work, which is crazy that he can do that, which maybe makes a case and sets an example for what people in comicsgate should look to. It's like if Richard Meyer will still go out and read Mark Waid's work, then maybe we can work things out here. But what he said about Watchmen was that there is a great show hidden inside of a bad one. And that's perfect, because parts of it are really cool, especially the casting of Jeremy Irons as Ozymandias. I mean, that's perfect. I wish that they would have done a show just about him, because he plays the character so well. Anytime he was on was like my favorite part of that entire show. But then there are other things they do, and things that kind of fuck around with the lore a little bit that really bugged me. And I had read Watchmen like right before I started the TV show. I went back and I read the graphic novel like cover to cover in the span of a few days to get into the mood, and so all that build up would be fresh, because the show is supposed to be a direct sequel, supposed to be a continuation of that story. It's not like it's a reimagining of Watchmen or anything. It's like, here's what happens next. That was the approach they were taking with it. So I feel like if you do that, then you've got more work to do for yourself, especially to something that's so beloved and has such renown and such a devoted fan base. Like, if you want to come out and do a reimagining of Watchmen, then you can just kind of pick and choose which things you want to honor, which characters you want to include, and how you want to present them. If you do a direct follow-up and you market it that way, then you really raise the bar as far as what people are going to be expecting and the the level of scrutiny that you're going to be dealing with. And I think that's fair, you know, because that shit matters, in my opinion. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely some woke shit in there. And that's just fucking par for the course almost at this point. You just have to like look past it, you know, and be like, all right, well, with that, are there any other aspects of the show that are actually worthwhile? And yeah, I believe there are. For the most part, I thought the cast was good. Did not like the main character. I thought Don Johnson was wasted. That would be another complaint. But there are some things that were really good about it. It ended up visually being a pretty pleasing show, which I don't think they did a good job with the trailers. I remember seeing the trailers for it when it was first announced, and I was like, this looks like a fucking like network TV show. You know, it looked like a CW show almost. And on that, the presentation of Dr. Manhattan is like CW level. That's really bad. They did a horrible fucking job with Dr. Manhattan, which is whatever. Some people are like super fanboys of Dr. Manhattan. I think he's kind of a dick. Through most of the book of Watchmen, he's just kind of a dickhead. Not dickheads like us, like a bad dickhead, you know. So I don't really give a shit too much about that character. Not a fanboy. I don't have like Dr. Manhattan posters hanging up, but I thought that the character could have been handled much better. All right, Shellback is going to dip out, so I'll leave this running, though. Got to get you that watch time. Well, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go here. Probably going to wrap it up sometime soon. I've got some He-Man to watch. I've got some comics to read. I've got drawing to do. Things have been kind of hectic lately, so I'm kind of behind on some shit. So I've got to get my work in too, but good to see you. So hopefully it's not so long until the next run-in. Shellback. Take care of yourself. I'll go until this is finished. A few more sips here. Never Cold's got some dinner to cook. Breakfast for dinner. That's always a fun little shake-up to do, especially when you're a kid. That was always a fun night. Breakfast for dinner night. It's a good wild card. I can get behind that. I'm totally on board. Okay. Yeah. Hang in until the end. What do you got going there? You doing, what's it going to be? Pancakes? You doing like the full pancake, or are you going with more of like a meat-based sausage, eggs type of approach? What's it going to be tonight? What kind of breakfast you doing? Surely not just like a bowl of cereal. That wouldn't be any fun. You got to be cooking something. But that's what you said. You're cooking. Yeah, sausage and eggs. Okay. That's a good meal. It's a nice, healthy, manly meal to have. Sausage and eggs. Yeah, cereal is poison for the most part, but I will admit, I still buy it for my kids. I can't deny them that. I just can't. Maybe I can. Let me say this, I won't deny them that. Because I look back so fondly on mornings with sugary cereal that I think they can handle it. They can handle a little poison. They can handle a little sugar poison, But I mean, you know, I would feel very, very sad for my children if they had to go their entire childhood with, you know, no Lucky Charms, no Count Chocula, no Tricks, no Corn Pops. I mean, these are like staples of my childhood. I just can't do it. I can't do it to them. But I think that their bodies and their digestive systems are resilient enough that they'll be able to handle it. Sugary cereal and Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, exactly. That's like a little slice of life that I can still, a little slice of normalcy, you know, that I can still provide in these crazy fucking times where people are just losing their minds about everything. So now I don't eat them these days. Not very often. I will say once the Halloween season rolls around, I will certainly have a bowl or two of Count Chocula. If I only have 1 or 2 bowls of cereal a year, that's what it is. Because I'm in the Halloween spirit, you know, fall time just warms the cockles of my heart in a way nothing else does. Maybe Christmas. I'm a very festive person around that time of year. It starts, you know, when fall time begins, and then once New Year's Day is over with, then it's just like all the excitement of the festive seasons are done. But you begin looking forward to the next one. So I will have some Count Chocula as long as I can still get some. As long as all the fucking stores aren't burnt to the ground by October, yeah, I'll have a little bit of that. But I refrain from the most part because I realize I'm not a fucking little kid. I'm a 34-year-old man. My body can't handle it the way it used to. Can't do it. Yeah. Obi-Wan says that on Watchmen, he says definitely woke, but he could look past it. Only watched 2 episodes. Yeah. Do you mean Watchmen's a great show, or is this a great show, Obi-Wan? Are we running a great show tonight? I hope we are. That would be good to hear. Yeah, Never Cold. We ate that shit. We're still here. Yeah. Once you get up there, though, you're not a little kid anymore. You gotta start paying attention to what you put in your body. You know, you gotta pay attention to what you put in your body, and that's a lesson that Preston Poulter, he learned the hard way, literally. Yeah, really though, future looks dim. Thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the stream tonight. You know, I'm actually glad that I did not have a fucking new journal around. Because I was thinking, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just fucking sit down and write my thoughts out. Maybe I'll just write my thoughts down on paper. And I've got like 1 million yellow legal pads. I keep those shits all around because I take notes for fucking everything. But when it comes to journaling, you know, and writing down like a day, the fucking date, here's what I'm fucking thinking. I don't do that on yellow pads. I can't do that shit. I've got to have a nice notebook journal to write real journal entries in. I didn't have one of those, so I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just get on YouTube and air this shit out that way. So I think Never Cold appreciated my commentary on Preston Poulter. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate your laughter and mirth. So, well, guys, I think that's going to about do it. I said I'd finish this up. That's gone. So that's going to do it for the Skeleton Crew tonight. By the way, if any of you here would ever like to hop on a stream and speak man to man or man to men, if multiple people want to come in, if I'm doing a StreamYard stream, I can always shoot you a link on Twitter, and then you can get on here and actually chat it up in person. So if that's something you'd ever be interested in, just let me know in the chat, and we'll give it a go. Because it's supposed to be comicsgate centric, and that means connecting with the fans too, with people who are supporting you, people who are supporting your channel and coming and listening and getting their thoughts and feelings. And so if you ever just want to shoot the shit, it's an open forum. Just let me know. When you see Skeleton Crew go live, just know that means you too. You're also, like I said, part of that crew that keeps this thing going. Even when everyone else is chaotic, when everyone else has their fucking ballerina slippers on and they're out there prancing around and doing God knows what, everything but talking about or selling comic books, we will be here trying to keep things on track, doing what we can. So, well, thank you, Obi-Wan. I appreciate you saying that. Glad you've enjoyed this evening. And it doesn't matter, Nevercold, how your voice sounds, In fact, sometimes having a really awful voice can, not saying that your voice is awful. I don't know what your fucking voice sounds like. Could be, I mean, you could be pure shit. I don't know. But the thing of it is, if you have a memorably shitty voice, then people actually grow to love it. I mean, that happened with Cecil, didn't it? I don't know if you guys remember when he first started going on Ethan's streams. I mean, people were fucking ruthless to him in the comments. Ruthless. Making fun of him and the way he sounded. But now, I mean, that's Cecil. People wouldn't have it any other way. So, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you sound like. Come and give it a try sometime. Yeah, I don't think your voice would be pure shit. Most people's voices are not pure shit. I've met very few people with a pure shit voice. But even if you did have a pure shit voice, I wouldn't hold it against you personally. Over time, I would grow to accept you, and it would become endearing, I believe. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid. Don't apologize for who you are. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed your time this evening. I have. And until next time, everyone, make sure you're listening to your Super Divorce on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, wherever you stream your fucking horse shit. If you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment below. Let me know how you're feeling about some of the stuff we talked about tonight. Could be about the social issues, since those came up. But, if it's comicsgate, let me know about that too. Love to hear what you thought and what your thoughts are for forward movement, for solving problems, for being part of the solution. And, yeah. All right. So, guys, take real good care. And Obi-Wan, don't forget, I'm formally requesting a new episode of your beer reviews. Not just an episode, a new season. I am requesting a new season. Please, please, please think about it. A new season, new beers. The world needs this right now, Obi-Wan. Think of that. It's your part that you can do to bring smiles to faces in these trying times. The people of Australia need you. People of the world need you. Okay? All right, guys. Take real good care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.